3,000,000 years from Earth, the Red Dwarf podcast thanks for the memory. Its crew, Blake Braswell, a USA native, and Lee Malaby, his English co-host. Additional, continuing our journey aboard Thanks for the Memory, food has become sparse aboard Red Dwarf. If Blake tries to feed me asteroidal lichen stew followed by dandelion sorbet one more time, I will jam his nose between his cheeks and make it the filling of a buttock sandwich. What is up, Smegheads, and welcome to Series 6 of Thanks for the Memory, a Red Dwarf podcast where we rewatch every episode of the BBC comedy show Red Dwarf and discuss them. I am your host, Lee, and here, as we said at the beginning, with my good friend across the pond, Blake. Hey, Blake.
Oh, I'm so happy right now because this episode has two of my favorite quotes, and that's one of them.
I can't believe that we are... So by the time we've done this episode and the next one, we will be actually halfway through our podcasting journey.
Right. I don't know if by time that's actually true, like actual minutes added up of the episodes, but in terms of like 12 series, we will have finished 12.01.
I think episodes,
if you count the...
Yeah, I think there's 13, but I think there's 72 episodes. So this will be episode 6 of series 6 will be 36 episodes. So the actual midpoint of everything.
Oh, I love it.
Apart from we're adding one in, as we will get to at some point.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that soon. I realize that's coming up quicker than I want.
Actually looking forward to it.
The great American pilot of the Red Dwarf. Oh, jeez.
Yes.
That's going to be powerful. We on this one, we are doing Series 6, Episode 5, Rimmerworld. This episode originally aired on November 4th, 1993. Just where I was getting old enough to start getting all of some of the jokes that had been going over my head.
Oh, God. That makes me feel really old. I was about to turn 18.
I was 13 at this point.
Wow.
So in this episode, Crichton, talking about getting older, Crichton diagnoses Rimmer with a stress-related condition as a surviving simulant attacks the crew. Fleeing in an escape pod, Rimmer enters a wormhole and must spend the next 600 years on a deserted planet with only his clones for company. This is a way better plot than, oh God, what's the name of that movie? I just lost it. With the Tesseract and the time dilation because of the black holes. This had a black hole. The sci-fi film by Christopher Nolan. Interstellar. There you go.
Oh, right. Yeah. Do you know, everyone loves that film. We enjoyed it to a point and then went, yeah, it's kind of trying to be too clever for its own good.
I love its premise. There are spots that I don't. Yes. You know what? You're kind of, I'm with you there. We could do a whole Chris Nolan conversation
probably
elsewhere. I always love watching what he does, but sometimes I'm like, I don't know about that bit.
No, I need to watch Tenet again. I've only seen it once, and I didn't really understand it the first time I watched it. And Tracy will not watch it because it's got Robert Pattinson in it, and she hates him with a passion.
Well, you can't understand it because the dialogue is too hard to understand in that movie.
Oh yeah, we've had that conversation, haven't we?
Yeah, it is. It's like he was like, man, more people understood Bane than I wanted to. Can I make a movie where you can't understand anybody? I'm gonna try that.
Anyway, this isn't the Nolan cast. So I'm going to say this right now out of the gate. So this episode is titled Rimmerworld. We spend so little time on actual Rimmerworld. It's weird. I think we've said this about a few episodes before where the actual premise of the show is such a tiny bit of the episode. And this one is probably one of the biggest ones because we barely... I would class Rimmerworld as Rimmerworld once he starts his clone, and it's literally about the last, 8 minutes of the episode?
Yeah, if even it's very much like we've run into like Terraform and those other ones where in my head how long Rimmer was with that creature that was sort of torturing him.
Yeah.
Is so much bigger a part of the episode than the actual episode, or Gunmen of the Apocalypse, where I'm like, oh man, it to me, like the whole episode was in the Wild West, and it isn't. It's just a little bit where you have the whole crew. And it's really true. I mean, it holds true to this. In fact, to the point where this was one I got to start the episode and went, Rimmerworld. I don't offhand remember. I don't remember what this one is because I have another thought about Rimmerworld, but that's That's for a later episode. In my brain, I was like, isn't that something? But that comes later. And when it started, and because it really is about going back to the rogue simulant ship, and Rimmer is feeling all stressful and stuff. I remembered about that. Pardon me, but it took a second to be like, oh, I remember what's going to happen here. This is not one that stuck hard in my head, except for some of the really good quotes that are in here, and then moments on Rimmerworld that do stick in my brain very well. But I'm with you. This one had not stuck in my brain the way the rest of Series 6 had. No,
not at all. Because it's weird as well. There's a weird bit that's so out of place in this episode. Anyway, we'll get there. We're not there yet. So I have to ask first and foremost. So Rimmer is a hologram, yes? So I kind of get how they explain the fact that he is suffering from a stress-induced... I kind of get it. It's a little flimsy, but I kind of understand it.
The conceit being that, physically, there isn't anything wrong, but he could actually destroy himself, which kind of fits with what we have seen with Rimmer in the past.
But does he have to have an eye test? He's a hologram. Surely his eyes don't deteriorate. So this is actually going to play into this episode and the next episode where I have questions about Rimmer being a hologram, because there's things that don't make sense, and this is one of them. He does. Surely his eyes are his eyes. They don't deteriorate over time because he's a hologram.
So he's a hologram and he does the eye test. So two things. One, he's become a hard light. He's a hologram that's been around forever. I kind of assume in some way Crichton would do a physical check on him because he's been around for so long. What could deteriorate? And I look at that less as a physical action, but what if something was wrong with the light beam? Okay. Let's check the eye. You know what I mean? Kind of check in the what's more like maintenance on your car.
Yeah,
your tires.
It's funny. As soon as you started saying that, I went the same place. I went, oh, that actually makes sense because, yes, he himself can't deteriorate, but I guess the thing that's projecting his hologram could. So, yeah, all right, I'll give you that.
Yeah, they could catch, something is wrong. In theory, something's wrong because you're colorblind all of a sudden. What just happened? Do you know what I mean? So I kind of get that. I also get the idea, though they don't explain this expressly, and they even in the books, the novels, they don't fully say this, but I infer, because to keep you from going bonkers when they bring you back as a hologram, they try to keep everything, your flaws and all, because if you aren't, if you needed glasses psychologically, they will project you with glasses. You know what I mean? That kind of a thing, so that it doesn't mess with your sense of self. But it is funny because and in the reality is they just need to do this so they can set up a funny bit.
Yeah. And how many times have we seen that a lot in Red Dwarf? And I know we're talking about a daft comedy and it's us trying to hold it to some much higher purpose, but it's part of the discussion.
I know, but it is. You're like, yeah, it doesn't really make sense. And then my second watch actually is where I went, well, maybe it's like keeping a car or, your computer maintained, you defrag the computer or whatever. You're like, okay.
Hang on. How old are we going now? You don't have to defrag computers anymore, Blake. That's a way old.
But you still can. And so I still do once every so often.
I was always told you're not supposed to defrag SSDs, but okay.
It makes me feel good. Well, I guess SSDs don't have to do it, but I still go through and look at the hard drives. I don't know. I miss those days of being able to tinker when I was a kid and going, I got the new Wing Commander game. I got to learn how to program a boot disk to figure out how to play this game. Which is something I probably would have done around this time that I was watching this episode somewhere. Yeah. 93, 94.
It's interesting. Something I was going to bring up because I was thinking about not only these two episodes, but the series and the podcast up to this point. And if you go back to the first couple of series that we did, we got quite poignant in a lot of the things that we were discussing as far as this show.
Yes.
Because there felt like there was a lot of depth to the show and a lot of depth to the characters, which I don't know whether you would agree with. I feel we've gone away from quite a bit. But
so if you go to a pinnacle of that to me would be Marooned,
yes,
right? Series 3, right? Although a little bit in this episode, but also in the next episode, that does come back.
A little
I
bit.
feel like, in a circular way that I quite enjoy.
But what I like about this is it kind of goes back to old school Rimmer, that he knew he was having his eye test and went and snuck in the middle of the night and wrote the eye test on his hand so he could cheat. And that's going back, that's way back to episode, was it episode one when he, and he wrote
one or
all
two,
yeah.
So and this one has several, this episode in particular, also the next one, has a tremendous amount of my favorite Robert Llewellyn Crichton deliveries. Like, they're just so good. This has one of those, the whole, well, of course I cheated. I'm a competitive, I'm a competitive man. You know what I am. We're all perfectly well aware of what you are, sir. Like, that.
Brilliant. So that goes to what we've talked about before as well, the evolution of how well they've got of writing. Because I feel, again, if that joke was told in episode 1, 2, and maybe 3, he'd have said what he thought he was. But we didn't. We left it. We said before, like they told the joke, but then actually put the punchline in there, where sometimes you didn't need to.
Yeah, that whole thing of like, well, I guess your joke is really funny because you had to explain it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it's the dog food one. The dog food one is the prime example. Now I know why dogs lick the testicles, and it's like, that's fine. Just leave it there. That's the joke.
Done.
We all get it. But he'll go, I guess it's because of the taste. Like, you didn't need to say that.
Yeah. Oh, that's our second Marooned reference. That's
good. But it's true. I feel like in this one, going back to that point, he might have said, you're a smeghead, or what? You might have smeghead. I mean, actually, that could have been quite funny. But yeah, he didn't need to. I think there was the one was it Quarantine, when it's like the 3 popular things that males do on their own. It's like fishing, something else, and the other thing that we won't talk about. And they didn't say it because you knew what it was. Whereas it potentially they would have said, that thing. But anyway.
But his delivery is, Crichton is so good. He's always good, but there's something about his interpersonal dealings with the crew in this and the next episode that just delight me. He's just nailing it. We're all perfectly aware of what you are, sir. It's just so good. Oh my God. And that that quote you read earlier about tell me your, make you the fillings of a buttock sandwich.
Oh, it's just hilarious. Like, just brilliant. I always feel like a lot of the time, sometimes the two writers they just came up with things like that and wrote episodes around them, because they're like, what stupid kind of little bits can we write? And then how can we fit that into an episode?
Well, like, I mean, the Chinese worry balls, those like spinning balls alone, that is only in there so that Crichton can say those lines like, grind those balls, sir, like you've never ground before. Like, I mean,
there's a funny one later on. I can't remember what the setup for it is, but he's like, he says, balls on standby, sir.
Balls on standby, sir. Yeah, when he's trying to tell him how long it's going to take to rescue him. Yes. But like, and this episode has some great quotes. We got Love Spuds back, because we had Love Spuds back with Ace, where he said the flicking loves
it's like
putting your love spuds on the barbecue.
No, it's like flopping your wedding tackle on a lion's head and flicking his love spuds with a wet towel.
Yes, but Love Spuds got mentioned with the Ace episode about putting them on the barbecue.
Oh,
you don't have to flick your Love Spuds on the barbecue.
Yes.
So yes, it comes back. The metaphorical equivalent of plopping your wedding tackle into a lion's open mouth and then flicking his Love Spuds with a wet towel. That quote is so Douglas Adams to me.
Yes.
Like oversaying it, but just a fun language. What I associate with like that sort of British humor about where we could say this really simply, but instead what we're going to do is like draw this out in almost a Shakespearean way of saying way too much to get to the point. One of my favorite Red Dwarf lines ever. And Rimmer with this whole, we're also, this is interesting because I feel like with Rimmer saying that line, one, it's a callback to Ace, but also like Rimmer and with his debilitating nerve disease he has or whatever, is so afraid, again, a coward more than he's ever been at this point. But we're bringing all that back. But we're also in this episode going back to the rogue simulant ship from a few episodes ago. And that has not really happened. We've mentioned at times like, oh, hey, they just mentioned some stuff that has happened in their history. But literally this is the closest thing to getting to what we view now when we watch TV shows.
Yeah, to actually revisit somewhere they've been before. In fact, I think other than like Red Dwarf and Starbuck, I don't think they have.
No. And so they go back to the rogue simulant ship.
And that ship is awesome, by the way.
That ship's great, and the explosion is great, too. I wrote that. I love that. But that they go to the ship and actually, like, it's like, again, if this, you get more out of this if you've actually seen the episodes. You don't have to have seen that episode, but it is threaded through there, which is a much more current thing, I feel like. You know, for example, if you were making this in the modern stream, the first half of you would end with the punchline of you're going to be missing for a very long time and Rimmer going through the wormhole. And then your next episode would mostly be Rimmer on Rimmerworld. And at the very end, the guys land. And then your third episode would be the rescue. Because that is, and I think it's been really cool to go back and watch this and kind of remember how TV was made. Like we talk about how much story actually happens that you would drag out so much now.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to the stress balls very briefly. My favorite stress balls joke is when they do get onto Rimmerworld at the end and they find him in the jail cell and he's got the stress balls, but they're tiny because he's been wearing them down for 600 years.
Like two little BBs in his hand that he's
and it's so subtle. Like it wouldn't have even mattered if they hadn't left. If they could have just forgotten those stress balls at that point. But the fact that he still got them
just made it hysterical. I do want to point out here, I'll get a little deep on you because I do think there's some character stuff that's happening. I wrote this down on my second viewing because at first I'm like, oh, it's in the service of setting up a joke, but Lister continued being like, hey, I was trying not to cause panic, but actually things are really bad and we don't have a choice. And then later, sorry, I was not trying to cause panic, but we can't use these bazookoids. It's just for psychological because things are really... And I wrote down, I was like, Lister lying about the true state of their survival is kind of cool because it's showing these like cool leadership stuff that he's doing that pops up from time to time. And it does kind of... But maybe this circles back to some of our series 1 and 2 conversations. Rimmer's other problem with Lister is not that Lister sucks. It's that if he cared, Lister could be awesome.
Yep.
That's really...
Yes.
And I don't think I ever thought about it that way until that. And I was like, he's being really good. And there have been glimpses of this in some of the other episodes, you know. But like if he cared, he would have his own ship in the Space Corps and Rimmer would be furious.
He just couldn't care less.
But it makes him upset. It makes worse because he could be better than Rimmer. And I think that's probably the thing that makes me even more nuts. And I love that it's not said. I don't even know if the writers really thought that or whatever, but who cares? Like in the context of watching it, like you can kind of see that you could easily look at that and it's like that you know what? That's something you can lean in. If you and I were writing the new the relaunch of this, I'd be like, we got to make sure.
For the start, but okay.
But we don't. You can't spell this out. But we got to make sure that's a through line. You know what I mean? You got to make sure that's a bit of a thread, like something you tell the actor, like, hey, it's not in the script, but here's why you really hate this guy, right? Like this is the real reason. You know,
I love as well. Do you think that's an Aliens reference? By the way, then they're not allowed. They've got the bazookas, but they're not allowed to use them. Because like, man, what are we supposed to use? Harsh language? It felt like when they go under it's like, they're underneath the primary heat exchangers, so they can't use. It felt like
what's that for? Close encounters. I heard that.
Yep. That scene in that movie is probably the best scene in any movie ever. It's amazing. What are we supposed to use? Harsh language?
You heard the man. I love Aliens. Well, that would be our next podcast. A minute by minute breakdown. I also have I also like the grind those balls, sir. Grind them. We also get a throwback to old school Rimmer performance in his like, I don't want to panic.
Yes.
And he like overdoes it. And I'm like, This is dumb, but it does harken back to some of the stuff from the first couple of series where they were still kind of finding their feet. And, you know, Chris Berry was an impressionist. He wasn't really like actor. And so it feels intentional, you know, it's so cheesy.
Because they gave him, I think Rimmer has become Rimmer now, whereas I feel like in the first 2 or 3 series, they kind of gave him more to do that stretched what Chris Barry could do, and he doesn't really get that anymore.
No, that's true. That's true.
You know, he did the impressions of like the ship's crew and stuff like. You don't get any of that anymore, and I kind of miss that because he is good. He's brilliant when he does like like we said for Body Swap. It would have been funnier if they'd have, rather than done like the voiceover thing.
Oh, I know.
If they'd have just let them. I know Craig Charles probably wouldn't have done as good a job as Chris Barry, but it would have been so funny to have seen that whole episode as Chris Barry doing Craig Charles. And
I would watch that.
And he would have been great because he loved it. Like, he doesn't even do that anymore. You used to get of him like, oh yeah, death isn't the handicap it used to be. Like, you don't get any of those bits anymore. And I wonder if that's purposeful or what. I don't.
Well, I do think the hard light drive changes his life. They don't delve into it too much yet, but the hard light drive sort of changes that perspective on things. And it makes it kind of funny that he's still such a coward when in theory, you know, he is sort of indestructible, except that they are on Starbug, and if things go wrong, they run out of power and he's screwed.
Well, that was an interesting point because I was thinking about this as well. We kind of learned through the first 3 series that it was Holly that was keeping Rimmer going.
Right.
But then Holly's not around anymore.
Well, I guess is the power is being diverted to Rimmer. And it's funny because as a kid, I remember thinking once he got the hard light drive, he stayed there. But even in the subsequent episode, in this episode, there are moments he's not. And there's even comments made about, hey, bring your power belt, your remote power belt for your hard light drive because we need all hands on deck. I'm like, they are kind of making some rules on this, you know, because they don't have the power of Red Dwarf, you know, propping it. So you get the idea that a lot of times Rimmer's tooling around in just regular hologram form, but then every now and then, you know, he's in hard light, which would make sense if Crichton was going to do a medical. He's in his hard light form. Yeah.
So kind of what you're saying is that there's times when, to conserve power, he's just in hologram mode. And then when they need him to be, they can sort of kick up a gear of his hard light drive and become able to touch things. Like, okay, yeah, you're right, because it's not specifically said, but it is kind of alluded to.
Yeah, when Crichton does the time travel by mistake, he's in regular hologram gear. Both times, and not in hard light drive.
Is he a different costume?
He's in his red. He's not in the blue. He's in the red.
I never noticed that.
Yep.
That's interesting.
I caught it this go round, and as a kid, I never caught that. But
in this episode,
yep,
I've never noticed that. Wow.
So because they do some time travel. Yes, there is time travel in this episode. In these last 2 episodes. So because he does the teleport pad, but he screws up. He goes, don't you remember, sir? This was Thursday last week.
I'm confused now because I've watched these back to back. It's like, which one's which? Yes, you're right. Oh,
right.
Because I know how this one ends because it's like Rimmerworld. That was weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and if you see it, he's in his regular hologram red uniform instead of the blue. The blue being
I did not realize that. That's really, it shows how much attention to detail I have. Oh my God.
I do love though that so let me get this right. If we, do this and then we're finished. And if we don't get the power cells, we're finished. But if we do get on board and get caught by simulates, then we're also finished. But if we get caught on board and no one's there, but we don't find no fuel, we're also finished. Yes, sir. Grind those balls, sir. Grind them. And then he keeps going. Then after you with the balls, sir. When he holds his hand out.
I know. It's like it's going to be a long time. Well, be a bit more precise. Well, sir. Calm yourself. It's going to be a very long time. Well, that wasn't exactly precise, was it?
I do. Let's don't beat around the bush. You're still beating around the bush.
Yeah. And then he goes, well,
let's not beat around the bush.
You know that big war? What, the 30 years war? No, the other one, the 100 years. Well, times that by 3.
No, by 6. And you'll get
that's
your
right.
answer.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
So he still doesn't actually come out and actually just tell him.
And there's I love this. To me, this is like a quintessential like Rimmer and crew scene. Rimmer versus the crew scene. I love the conversation over the simulant's shoulder once they get caught by the teleporter machine with Rimmer behind her. And he's like, hey, whatever you're going to do it now.
Yeah.
and then like the whole think about what you're doing, all we've been through. And like, it's so great just watching him slowly creep to the escape pod. And he's got the bazookoid in hand and he's like, nope, it just goes all the way.
I'm done. I thought
so good.
An interesting piece of trivia. It's actually the only piece of trivia I've put in the show notes, but I did think it was quite interesting. So apparently this is one of the only episodes in the series that actually gives you a firm indication of how much time has passed between episodes. Because Lister states that the destruction of the simulant ship occurred a couple of weeks ago, meaning that the events of Gunmen, Emo Hawk, and Rimmerworld occurred, at least for Lister, Cat, and Crichton at any rate, within a time frame of only a few weeks. Because normally, like we've talked about it before, haven't we, when we went through the earlier series, that it's never quite said how much time has passed between any of them, really.
No, we had an answer.
I think it's
series 2 or something.
Series 2, was it?
Yeah, where something was said. It's like, oh, you know how long they've been floating in space now?
Yeah, it was like
they said something.
Yes, you're right. It was like 3 months or something at that point, wasn't it, if I remember rightly? God, that seems such a long time ago that we were watching those episodes.
It does. It seems ridiculously long ago. I like what we said earlier. That ship explosion when they escape is great. I love the old school visual effect of the teleporter that they find. It looks neat. Like it's very Star Trek Next Generation, which was roughly contemporary. But it was contemporary to this. But I don't know. It's got its own vibe with the sort of like the lines. I don't know. It's just something I really like that. Sometimes you create effects and you're limited by what you have, but it makes a neat looking thing. And then now, since you can literally design anything in CGI, sometimes I don't think of I don't remember what it looks like, because this is so specific.
Like I was watching it a lot for like the interior of Starbug, and considering I don't know what the budget was, it wouldn't have been massive, but the interior of that ship, like all the gantries and corridors actually look really good. It doesn't look like a studio set. It looks like,
I think
we said when we went back, didn't we, in Red Dwarf, there was always that gantry that they went through all the time that looked like it was probably in some industrial building. A lot of that feels like this. It doesn't feel like the cockpit you would assume is just a set. But then a lot of when they're running through the ship itself, it doesn't look like it's set in like a soundstage or something. They feel like real.
It feels like a ship.
Yeah.
It definitely has that feeling, sort of like when you watch, Alien. Yeah. The first one of the reasons that ship works so well is they pretty much built it as it's laid out ish, so that it's one of the reasons that psychologically you kind of understand where everybody is on that ship, and she is, because they filmed it logically, I guess is the way to say it, the way they laid out the ship. I like it when they can do that in movies and do that with stuff. Like I believe that they went out of their way to do that for that Firefly show.
I've never watched it.
Serenity. From the film Serenity, but the show Firefly, they built it so that it made sense to the actors.
Okay.
I don't know if this one was built that way, but it feels that way. Like you said, as you film it, you sort of understand like where everything is.
Yeah, I'd love to see I'd love to see it from like a behind the scenes perspective, to see what it all looked like from a wider view.
Right. I do love. Cat also has got some good. There's some good ones in here, just lines that I love, and I do love the all in all 100% successful trip. So we lost Mr. Rimmer. All in all, 100% successful trip.
He does that a lot. It's funny, isn't it? Still after all this time together, they still hate each other as much as they did. It's like, why are you all together then if you hate each other that much?
And just more like good Crichton delivery. I'll find you an S through when it's like, I don't know there, Flash. You're kind of I do love the Rimmer, like, oh, good job. You all survived. I see you like my diversion. So you survived how did you survive again? And when they're like, we use the teleporter. Not the only option, but but there was a good one. I love that. Like such a great bit. And it's like, we can't catch up to you. That thing is too fast. It's going to land on an S3 planet. What's the nearest one? And Crichton's like, let me going to scanner, sir. Going to mid-range scanners. Going to long range. Long range. Long range. Long range. Found one. Like just his delivery of that, and it's like it's the way that Crichton is like looking at the screen and then like kind of skirting his eyeballs back up to see Rimmer's face, like long range. Like it's but again, so good.
Like we've commented, he's not saying that. See, I feel that there would be comedy actors out there that would be saying long range, like in a jokey way because they know it's meant to be a joke and they know it's meant to be funny, then they would deliver it that way. But Robert Llewellyn doesn't.
No, he just delivers it super straight,
yes.
Like the robot being logical. Like, I'm trying to take care of this guy's psychological health. I also know there's things that are bad.
Even though he knows, but he also knows that he's winding Rimmer up at the same time, but it doesn't come across that way. That's what I mean. If Kat was reading that out, it would be delivered so differently. If Lister was reading out, it would be different. If anybody else playing Crichton would have potentially read it as a joke, whereas we've said a million times before, half the reason Crichton is funny is because he doesn't tell jokes. He just the funny lines said normally.
I just love the balls on standby, sir. But like him being told, this is an interesting bit because you almost could say, can you just cut it and go straight to the worst thing? But they go, how long is it going to take me? And Lister's like, let me tell him, 1.5 years. And he's like, oh no. And then so quickly, like, oh, wait a minute, you're being pulled into a wormhole. And then they up the ante even more into, oh, well, this will actually be good because we'll see you in like a week, but won't there be time dilation? Yes. And that's the whole 100 Years War conversation. Yes. And you find out it's going to be 600 years. And it's like, oh, crap. And you probably could have cut the first one, but I love they leave it. I love cats. Pinch me. We could try to shoot you out of the sky with a laser cannon, form an orderly queue behind the targeting computer or whatever.
But then that gets to the bit where they go on to Rimmerworld for the first time, and it's such a weird out of character section with like the voiceover.
We get I was gonna say Rimmer doing his David Attenborough voiceover, kind of like
it just feels so out of place with like the sort of twinkly music in the background and like just the way he delivers the lines. It feels so odd.
It's funny because I always can imagine Rimmer doing it because he's landed on this planet. He's got to try to keep himself sane. And he literally records a log at night. So when people find it, they'll find out he was the creator and the most wise person. Like you can see him doing it to boost his ego.
Yes.
If this works or if he gets found.
Like Napoleon's diary.
Yeah. I created a world. And I love that whole thing of I love this. When I wrote this down, I love the most basics. Only with me, it's only me and the most basic single cell protozoa. Relationships will be hard, but not impossible.
Yes, not impossible. I am the Adam, and now I need to find my Jane. What the hell? Where did Jane come from?
But do you remember? So I wrote this down. I love how Rimmer knows nothing correctly, but Rimmer frequently screws up Bible stuff. Do you remember? Like this has been a thing that happens here and there.
Okay.
So instead of Adam and Eve, but he's like Adam and my Jane.
Yeah.
He has said there's it's like series 4 or 3, but there's another Bible thing that comes up and he's like, yes. So, and he says it and you're like, that's not correct at all or whatever. Like, as the good book says, that's not the line, but I need to go back and figure out which episode it was, but it's not the first time that he has screwed that up. But he also like the idea that it has been so long in the future. And it's just him too trying to sound smart when he doesn't actually know what he's talking about.
Anything, yeah. He tries to make out that he's this clever guy, and he really isn't.
And I do, and again, I just love. So he talks about even I think before has he created? He's going to create like his Jane. And he's like, technically, she'd be my sister. How would that ever work? I just won't tell her. And when it pops out and it's another Rimmer, And then, it cuts back to the crew and they're about to go into the wormhole and they go through and it's like, oh, we're here. Oh, wow, there's thousands of life forms. And it's like, oh, Mr. Rimmer must have had the great fortune to land on an inhabited planet. That or what? It's too hideous to comprehend.
Yeah.
or it's too hideous to contemplate. And I love that they don't say it.
Yes.
Crichton's like, again, like you said, not explaining, saying what it was
without
would have
saying what it
happened in the first couple of series.
He would have explained what he thinks is going to happen rather than, let's just not even think about it.
It's too hideous to contemplate. And he makes that that frown face that he makes that cracks me up so much.
What I do find strange is considering they hate Rimmer, the original Rimmer, the creator of your people, and lock him away for 554 years or whatever it is, but yet they still sport his H.
Well, one does. Right? One wears the H.
I never know. Oh, you're right. Yes.
Yeah, because they're like, wait, you're not the, and he's, I am he. But it's like he's
such a weird
taking. I love the Rimmers. The whole like they display honor and kindness and like all the things that Rimmer doesn't.
Yes.
You deviants. What is it? Yeah. When he's like looking at everybody and the whole that's not goalpost head. I can smell it. Like he's not. He doesn't smell right.
Yeah.
And Crichton's got like the size scan. Yes, sir. And I love how straight Crichton is in this bit. No, sir, not you, the originator of your race.
Yes.
I do love the addressing of like, I can't even say it. What? Take us to your leader.
Yeah. It's so cheesy and cliche, but okay.
Yeah. And I love that they were like, I hope that they were writing it going, I'm just going to write this line for right now. We'll find a better line later. And then they're like, you know what? We're just going to use that line.
But it's perfect. Like when you're talking about a sci-fi show that is taking the piss out of sci-fi shows, why would you not have that line in there?
Right.
But then make fun of it as well.
And I also think it's fascinating that in this episode, they get a teleporter. And that is a big deal that they don't really bring up. Like,
to be fair, they've had one before.
But not like this. Do you know what I mean? Like before they, oh sweet, we've got it. And also they had it on Red Dwarf, right? They didn't have it on Starbug like that, right?
Yeah.
But to be able to have that, you would think, oh, this could like change some things or whatever. I do love that they don't really address that, but
well, they forget when they have it, don't they?
Yeah, I know. Well, when you get to like you talked about, like they find Rimmer in jail with them, and he's got the little BBs.
I love that.
I love the. Oh, Custer.
Oh, my God.
Titan.
He said, I can't remember what it is. No one stops Dave Custer or whatever it is. It's Derek Custer. I love that. It's so funny. So funny.
Well, and just Cat saying something like, but what about me? What about me, Custer and Titan?
Yeah, brilliant. Like, they all dive in full into it straight away. It's brilliant.
But the whole plan about like, we'll do this, we'll set up a pulley, we'll take out a brick, it'll smash the guy, he'll take the costume, then we'll go out with fight our ways out. Or we could use the teleporter, sir. Is such a great, but I noticed something on second viewing. I had to pause it and I went back.
Okay.
The previous scene, Kat says, with Lister or Rimmer with the H, but not the hologram.
Yeah,
he's like, that's not goalpost head. I can smell him. And Crichton says, agreed, sir. He scans as human, not hologram, because Crichton is holding the Psi scanner, the little joystick thing with the box underneath that he's used in previous episodes. And then they get thrown into the dungeon, and when they do, he is not holding the Psi scanner. He is holding the teleporter keyboard.
Wow.
And I was like, that's funny because he certainly is not carrying it in the previous scene. I mean, which is funny, but they had the Psi scan because if you already had Kat saying that's not him, I could smell him. And then Crichton could just be agreed, sir.
Yeah.
Something, you can tell that he's perspiring, not a hologram or something like that. But instead he's got the Psi scan, but then but no teleporter, and then throw him in the next room. He's got the teleporter.
Interesting.
But I do, or we could use the teleporter. I will say this does have a hint of series 3. The audience reaction is so strong to we could use the teleporter that you really do not need Lister going, or in a pinch, we could use the teleporter.
Yeah.
Like you could just have stopped. But I get how you can see them start. And this happens in a couple times episode where he gets ready to start to do something. Crichton does a couple times and laughs happen and he's kind of got a hold for it with the studio audience.
It's really interesting to see, your theatre background come out, because I'll be honest, I don't even notice the audience reaction.
Oh, because it's like when he says, "Oh, well, yes, sir. We all know. We're all well aware of what you are." And he goes to talk, and he goes, "Sir, I." And the audience is laughing so hard at that, he stops, and then he goes, "Sir, I," and then starts back into the line. And
I don't even notice it.
It's one of the things that I miss about live theater or live studio audiences, because there is a sort of, I don't know, peeking around the curtain that like I enjoy. It does make it feel like, oh, this particular thing that we're being seen like isn't just funny to me. Like this is a moment that was so good it held up the audience a little bit, and we don't get those anymore. We don't really do that with sitcoms.
About names, so you said about Goalpost Head. There was one, I think it was Rimmer, who referred to Crichton right at the beginning of the Bogbot from Hell. Bogbot
from Hell. Cat's got one. Laundry chute nose, laundry chute nostrils, or whatever he calls them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wonder if they sat down before they record each series and come up with a load of stupid names that they could call each other and just have a list and just pick we'll have that one this episode and that one there and this one here, or whether they write them on the fly.
It feels like Cat as a character sits around and comes up with those at different times.
Yeah. He hasn't been given much to do, Cat, lately. Have you noticed?
No.
It wasn't until we just kind of talked about it there that I don't feel like he's still there and part of the crew, but he hasn't been given anything significant to do for a couple of episodes now. You kind of go back to when they were using his his cat senses for going through asteroid belts or using his smell and stuff, but he's kind of definitely took a back seat in this one.
I didn't look ahead at trivia, but I'd love to know if they had to do this or they were forced to. But it is all the first time that Cat has worn the same costume twice, basically. And I love that it's addressed. Now, the last time you saw me, I was in a little number with peach flare and gold spangles. But just to let you know, the outfit I'm wearing right now, it's a completely different outfit with peach flares and a completely different set of gold spangles. Is totally...
Yes.
Is I wonder if they actually had to do that because they were out of a costume. Maybe. Or were just like, we're going to do this.
Because it must be difficult to come up with a new outfit for him every episode, especially being Cat.
Right. Because the only one he's worn twice we saw was the white one that they then colored in yellow to make the yellow version with the giant heart in the center of it.
Yeah. I know that's your favorite.
That was one of the that was one of the trivia we had. I didn't really look at the trivia. Was there any good trivia for this one? I didn't look ahead.
To be fair, that was the only one that I put in, really, that I felt like was an interesting piece of trivia, honestly.
That they actually listed the time that it's occurred between episodes. Yeah. And it's interesting because all of a sudden, right here, and going into the next one, you feel like we are watching an interconnected show, more so, an ongoing story than just a sitcom, as it were. And it's interesting, which we'll get more into in the next episode, but that it feels that way so strongly here, especially for the way it ends with we're all more contemplating what happened to poor Lister, as a completely different vibe to what has occurred before. Because before we find out Lister could have twins, and then all we get is a Star Wars scroll, the speed of light next year, So it's a very different setup for everything. I might like this one a little more after having talked to you.
I've just realized I haven't actually rated either of these two episodes.
What did you rate this one? Or what would you rate this
didn't.
one?
Well, that's a question. I've watched them and never actually rated them. This one was okay. I feel like, again, that it would lessen its overall impact because we spent so little time in the actual episode title. But it was I think it was a solid 7 for me.
That's funny. I wrote 6 Rimmer concubines out of 10. That's what I wrote down for mine.
I love how you have little addendums all the time.
Because we didn't talk about that, but the Rimmer concubines is a delightful little bit. Avert your eyes from the beauty of my concubine, and lifting up that thing, and it's just Chris Berry with a little bit of rouge and some lipstick on. It's so friggin' brilliant. Yeah, I mean, maybe I'd push it to a 7. I'll keep it at a 6 right now. And it's not that I don't like it, although I think I like it more because when I watch these, I don't tend to watch them back to back in my first viewing. But this morning, watching them back to back, they feel like they're meant to be seen together a bit because of the storyline between these two. So it does make for a good 1-2 punch watch, I feel like, as opposed to just watching, just kind of watching them spread out a week apart, as we would have. But yeah, I did as a 6, but enjoyable. I wish I got more Rimmerworld time and stuff, kind of like you say.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen way more of that, but we get so little. Like literally, they land, they see the guard takes them to the leader. They have 2 or 3 minutes with him, then they chuck him in with Rimmer, and then they leave. That's literally it.
Yeah,
it's so strange.
You're done.
Yeah, and then it ends.
But you heard the
abruptly.
concept of the show, you'd be like, "Oh, this is going to be a crazy show," but you really don't have that much time. You don't have that much time with it, but you do get a villain brought back in the simulant, or the actual performer brought back in and stuff. The set again, it's so different. Because it feels different. There's an ongoing story, and I think that might kind of set the stage for what will come, as far as a little bit more of an ongoing story. I'm you know what? I'm going to give the weirdest shout out. By the way, have you watched Murderbot? Diary of a Murderbot yet?
No.
So I just finished the book before, and then we watched the series as it came out. And I literally finished the book right before we started watching the series. I really like it. I want to get your vibe on it, because the book is written as a novella, so it's very short. And in fact, the first book is like 2 novellas. Even it's not even like each one is short. So the series lended itself well to these 30-minute episodes, and it made me think of Red Dwarf, not in style of humor or anything like that. I mean, there's some absurdness and stuff. It's different show, but who the people are is very important. And what becomes funny is, a few episodes in when you just kind of know this person now. But doing this show with you and having watched Murderbot, I thought, man, if Red Dwarf came back today as a relaunch or whatever, this is how they do it. They would do it like this, where it does have sort of an ongoing story through the series. Now, obviously, Murderbot did because it was a book. It was, the novellas, I don't know, 140 pages or whatever. So, of course, it's a through line. But I feel like watching it, this is how you would do Red Dwarf now, something like this. So, anyway, I'm curious to get your take on it when you watch it.
Okay,
good book, by the way.
Yeah, we will at some point. We've got so much to watch and so little time to watch things.
To be honest, because Murderbot was at 30-minute episodes, it's one of the reasons we did
that's good to know. Actually, that's good to know. Yes, because we're looking for something that's that short. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Okay.
Yeah. So there you go. Well, does that wrap us up?
I think so. That was quite an interesting conversation for an episode that I think didn't have an awful lot going on. There was definitely a lot to discuss. Like I say, the whole hologram thing keeps coming up all the way through, doesn't it? Of like, they never sort of set the rules right at the beginning. I mean, you've sort of had a laugh at Rimmer's hologram effect from the very beginning, of like bumping into things in the set and stuff, and like what he can and can't do, that sometimes he can and other times he can't. So it was interesting to delve in, and then even like we discussed when it came in, that having the light be changed things slightly, but then it still kind of felt a little wonky at times. And then having the hard light drive, we thought, well, that's the end of needing to worry about him being a hologram at all, because we've basically he's a person now. But he isn't still, because there's still these weird little things that go on with it. It's an interesting conversation
that I think comes to a head a little bit in the next episode.
Yeah.
Obviously, you kind of see why they had to do the hard light drive if they knew this is where they were going.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, of course, that will bring us to the end of another podcast, and we get ever closer to the end of this series and the middle point of our podcast. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Dwarf Memory, and Twitter at Dwarf_Memory for all show updates. I've been posting a little bit more on there recently, to be fair. Yeah.
And please subscribe, rate, and review the show wherever you can. Email us your comments to dwarfmemory@gmail.com. Really been enjoying some of the emails and comments we've been getting.
We've had some awesome emails. Honestly, it's been great to see that people are enjoying what we do, because you kind of sit sometimes in a bubble, don't you? You don't know. Yeah, you can see how many people are listening. And again, we're talking about a comedy sci-fi show from 30 odd years ago. It's never going to be huge, but it's quite interesting to see that we have grown over the course of time.
Lee, how do we get invited to the next Red Dwarf fan convention? That's what I want. We need a petition to get going. Some people, if you like, so I want to go. I want to go hang out. I want to go hang out for a little bit in the UK. Maybe get to meet some people.
Well, Blake,
that'd be awesome.
You're a creative person. Could we not do our own? I mean, I'm not even going to suggest that, because I've got far too much on my plate. But you know what I mean.
You could throw it to the guy who's working as a producer, right? I'd be like, well, I mean, we actually could produce.
Yeah.
We could do our own thing.
Yes.
Hey, don't tempt me.
I'm nowhere ready for that. I've got far too much going on right now. Of course, like you said, this was episode 5. The next episode we'll be discussing will be the final episode of series 6, which is episode 6, and that is Out of Time. So make sure to watch that episode before you join us for the next one.
Sorry about that. It's just that we were escaping from Rimmerworld.
Don't tell them that. They don't want to know the future. Poor old Rimmer doesn't want to know he's going to get persecuted for 6 centuries by loads of his own clones.
Careful, bud. For a minute, I thought you were going to let slip that he spends the next 557 years locked in a dungeon.
Rimmerworld?
I'm saying nothing, man. Don't want to spoil the surprise.
Rimmerworld was weeks ago. We're far more concerned at the moment about the quite hideous thing that's happened to Lister.
You're right, bud. Where are you?
Yeah, where am I? I want to know.